Welcome back. Today, in this video, I want to talk to you a little bit more about adjective clauses. What we're going to be talking about in this particular video is the information that's contained in chart 13.9 using expressions of quantity in adjective clauses. So, what does that mean? Probably the best way to find out is to take a look at this sentence. I'm holding some markers which are blue. And as you can see, this is true. I'm holding some markers and they are blue. Okay? Now, let's change the situation. Let's say I'm still holding some markers, but they're not all blue. Only 4 of them are blue. So, how do I say this? If I want to say I'm holding some markers. If I say I'm holding some markers which are blue, it sounds like they're all blue. When an English speaker hears, I'm holding some markers which are blue, sounds to the English speaker like they're all blue. So, how do I talk about this situation? How do I talk about it when some of them are blue? Here, only 4 of them are blue, but not all of them. Well, let's talk about that. First, the beginning of the sentence would be the same. The beginning of the sentence would be the same. I'm holding some markers. And then, comma. Now, the way that I show that not all of them are blue is I'm going to use what's called an expression of quantity. I wouldn't worry about memorizing the words expression of quantity. It just means saying how many there are. So when I'm using an adjective clause, how do I say how many there are? Well, the way that I'll do it is this. I'm holding the markers and, let me see, I need to get them all here. 4 of them are blue. 4 of them are blue. So the way that I'll the way that I'll do this is I'll say number plus of plus which. So if I wanted to say I'm holding some markers and I want to show 4 of them are blue, then I'd say I'm holding some markers, 4 of which are blue. When an American or when any English speaker hears that, then they know, oh, he's holding markers, but only 4 of them are blue. Let's see here. Let's do another example. Here, let me see. I'm holding some books. Let's see here. And, oops, I've got, let me see. Good. Okay. So I have 4 books altogether. 3 of them are big. 1 of them is small. So let's think about how I would say that. I could say, I'm holding 4 books. Or I said I'm holding in the first sentence. So let's just say, I have 4 books, comma. And then I want to say 3 of them are big. 3 are big, 1 is small. So, again, if I want to say how many books are big, then I'd say, again, number plus of plus which. I have 4 books, and I'll write number plus of plus which. So I'd say I have 4 books, and then I say how many are big? 3. So I'd say I have 4 books 3 of which are big. And then I might also want to say, how many are small? 1. So I could say, I have 4 books. And then I'll say number plus of plus which. And so I'd say 1 of which is small. Okay, so I can put these books down now. And I want to point out a couple of things about these sentences. Thing number 1, you will remember that when I'm making an adjective clause, very often I can use, if I use which, I can also use that, okay? When I'm talking about expressions of quantity, when I'm saying how many in an adjective clause, I can't use that. When I'm saying the number of things in an adjective clause, I can't use that. I will only use which. So let me write this here. Here, when I have expressions of quantity, with expressions of quantity, in other words, when I say how many, when I use the words expressions of quantity, what I'm saying is, all that means is I'm saying how many. When I say how many in an adjective clause, I use which for things. Know that. Okay? That's the first thing that I wanted to point out to you. The second thing that I wanted to point out to you is, you might notice that in these examples, I'm using commas. Your book says that I always use commas when I make expressions of quantity. That's not completely correct. There are some times that I may not use the commas, but the book is right that usually we use commas when we're using expressions of quantity in an adjective clause like this. So I'd say, I'm holding some markers, comma, 4 of which are blue. I have 4 books, comma, 1 of which is small. I have 4 books, comma, 3 of which are big. So usually I'll use commas. If you want to know what's the time that I don't use commas, make an appointment with me or something. For now, I'd say don't worry about it too much. It's very possible that you could live to 105 and never run into a time when you'd use a comma with an expression of quantity like this. And if you did find a time where you didn't use an expression of quantity, when you didn't use a comma, it'd be a pretty small mistake. So I'm saying probably not worth worrying about now. What else do I want to talk to you about here? Okay. So here I'm talking about markers, which are a thing. So if I'm talking about a thing, I'm going to use which. I use which for things. But what do I do if I'm not talking about a thing? I'm talking about a person. Okay. I'm going to cut this video short and start a new video about what do I say when it's a person. The reason is, when the videos go on more than a minute or two, a few minutes, sometimes they get lost when they're rendering, or the computer breaks down and I lose the video. So I'm going to stop this now, and then I'll be back in a minute with with what do I do for people, whom. Okay.